Welcome to Series 3 of Sensitive Changemakers, the podcast for ambitious HSPs and introverts. So if you're a sensitive, introverted coach, therapist, creative, or a service provider with big dreams, you're in the right place. I'm your host, Kate Carter, a fellow HSP and introvert who understands the unique challenges and incredible strengths we bring to the table. In this space, I'm here to help you embrace your sensitivity, release the anxiety and self-doubt that may be holding you back, and build the confidence to create success on your terms. If you're ready to step into your quiet power, align your business with your true self, and live a life of intention, purpose, and authenticity, then this is for you. Let's dive in. I hope you are all having a wonderful start to the week. I'm really excited to delve into this. So we are going to be talking about strategic actions you can take if you're not seeing the results that you want to be seeing in your business, especially as a highly sensitive person and introvert. So we're always looking at things through that lens. And the caveat to this is, obviously I'm not coaching you one-to-one, so please see this through the lens of what is feeling the right thing for you. And if you're unsure on any of that, please do reach out, have a free session with me, or if you're ready to jump in to one-on-one coaching with me, please do let me know. I do have 2 available spots opening up in November, which is very exciting. So if you would like to grab it yourself at one of those 6-month spots, let me know. I'll put the link in the show notes below. I've got water today, so I'm hoping we don't have any coughs. I will slow my voice down. This always happens every time I've had COVID. This is the 3rd time I've had it, and every time it really does mess around with my throat, my voice box, so to speak, coughing. So it does take me a while to shift that. So even though I'm feeling better, I know that's the last thing to go, so I do apologise. Okay, now we are going to be talking about this assuming that you've done the foundational mindset work. Now, mindset work, energy work, which I really truly believe is part of the puzzle here, is always going to be constant throughout our journey as entrepreneurs. It really is. But I'm really highlighting here the foundational mindset work. And the foundational mindset work here, I mean, is that you feel good. It's more or less what we talked about last week, that you're backing yourself 110%, that you feel good about your offer, showing up for your offer, and you feel good about your audience. And it doesn't mean that you've got everything worked out at all, and it doesn't mean that you've got all the pieces in the right places and all of that. It just means that you've got that foundational belief in what you are providing and that you are showing up for that. So that is assuming that is where you're at, so we can look at the strategic actions. If you think, I'm not quite sure whether I am there yet, then please, again, reach out and I can support you through that, and we can go through the mindset, the foundational mindset pieces that you need in order to feel good about showing up, in order to really own what you are providing in terms of services or products. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, I'm trying to break these down into 3 actionable steps so that you can see where you're at. Now, again, as I said, I'm not coaching you one-to-one, so please take what you need from this training. So the first thing is, are you trying to do too much? Now, this has come up with clients who are talking about, right, I need to be on Instagram, I need to be on LinkedIn, I need to be over here, I need to be doing this. And it's also come up with my husband, who has his own podcast. And I'm using him as an example here, I'm sure he won't mind, because I think it really highlights what I mean here. So he just is doing his podcast for fun, but obviously he wants more and more people listening to it. So he's trying to get on all of the different platforms. And while, yes, I absolutely see the benefit of that, what we are talking about when we're talking specifically about business is doing less better. So we don't necessarily need to be on all of the platforms. We need to pick maybe 1 or 2 platforms, and we need to go deeper rather than wider. So this is one of the things that I coach clients around all of the time, is how can you actually go deeper rather than wider, okay? And part of this is finding out where the gap is in your business. And you can, I believe, you can kind of self-coach yourself through this. However, you do need to have a foundational understanding and awareness of your business and be able to take that metaphorical step back and see the woods for the trees. Not everybody is in the journey or in the place to be able to do that. So again, if that's you, please do reach out and I can support you in actually spotting where your gaps are. I'm going to talk you through this as though I was coaching you, but just be aware that how this is going to show up for you may be very different. So please do reach out if you need any support with that. So the first thing is we're going to focus on doing less better. We're going to first of all look at our data. So again, I'm assuming here that you have been showing up, being visible for at least 3 months. If you haven't, get in touch. We can sort out a personalized marketing strategy for you so that we can then get some really key data for you. So the data that I really want you to be looking at here is not necessarily what other people would be telling you in the online space. Yes, followers on likes are one metric that we can use, but they are not necessarily the most important metrics. So for example, I've worked with clients who get enormous reach, who get so many likes, but they're not getting the clients or the money or the sales on the other side of that. And so I want you to see that you can actually convert clients without getting lots and lots of likes, without getting lots and lots of followers. So first of all, we need to be looking at your offer and whether it's a high ticket price offer or a low ticket price offer. This really enables us to see what we need and actually just look at the data behind that. So if we have got a high ticket offer, then obviously we don't need quite as many people in our audience. That makes sense because it's going to be a high ticket offer. We don't need as many people in our pipeline, so to speak. If we have a low ticket offer, obviously we're going to need more people through, and especially if we don't have a business where we have repeat clients or customers, we are going to need to increase our audience. So the first thing is really looking logically at what you're offering and working out what you actually need your marketing strategy to do. Do you need to have more people coming through your pipeline, or do you actually need to nurture and convert the ones that you've got? And if you've got a mixture of high and low, which I do, then again, thinking about which one you want to focus on first. So again, I will leave that up to you. And if you need support with that, again, reach out. So that's the first thing. If it is about growing your audience because you have a lower price offer and you do not have repeat clients, that's going to be something to look at. You are going to need to increase your audience and followers in order to get more people in. That just is how the maths work. If you're more of a high ticket price, then you can focus on nurturing and converting. So again, hopefully that makes sense. Let me know if you've got any questions about that. The next thing is I'm going to assume, okay, that again, for this part, that you have enough people in your audience. Okay, so we're going to look at what we need to do if we have enough people in our audience. And I say enough people in inverted commas here, because again, it is very much down to what type of business you have and what type of offer you have. Say, for example, I'm going to work with an example of a more high ticket offer here so you can see, but again, just bear that in mind. So high ticket offer, say you have 1,000, even just under 1,000 people in your audience, that would be enough to actually nurture them and convert them. Okay, you don't need thousands and thousands. So I hope that helps in terms of how much is enough. Obviously, like we said, if you've got a more low ticket price offer and you've got more people coming through because you don't have repeat clients, that might need to be increased. But again, it's not the be all and end all. You can work with what you've got. So the next thing is looking at the data that you have in order to work out where your gaps are. So again, we'll use the example of high ticket offer, saying you've got 1,000 people in your audience and you're still not converting into clients or customers. So first of all is looking at the data that goes deeper than just the likes and the follows. Okay, so we're going to assume that that's enough there at the moment, and then look at the other data. The data here is comments. How many people are commenting on your posts? How many people are actually having conversations with you about your posts? Those two for me are really, really key. The other one is how many people are clicking the links in your bio. Actual data where you can see So for example, you might have loads of people clicking on your links but not signing up, in which case that means taking a look at whatever that link is. Maybe it's a landing page, maybe it's a sales page, and actually looking at that. So people are interested enough to click on that, but then they're not converting through from that, even if it's a free offer. Okay, if people aren't converting, then that's where to look. That's where your gap is, because you're getting interest to that page, but they're not converting. So how can you look through that page and think, right, how can I tweak my messaging? And it might be something as simple as the sign up button is at the bottom and it needs to be at the top, or maybe in both places, so people can work through that quicker. It might mean that they need more reassurance in that landing page. It might be supportive to put testimonial, if you have that, in that to reassure people. So again, it depends on what that link is going to tweak. But again, it will be tweaking. It won't be burning down and starting from scratch. So what can you tweak in that? And that data alone gives you some really, really key messages. You can also do this without adding too much confusion. You can always do this with emails as well. I feel that emails is one of those easier things to work on. And the reason I say this, because emails are great for highly sensitive people and introverts. It's a great way to connect with people. But also, these people have already said yes to being in your world, whether that's they've previously signed up to a freebie or podcast or whatever it is they've already said yes to. They are already in your world, so they know you. They are warmer leads, and actually looking at your emails can really support you here. It can be, I've heard other coaches call this like the low-hanging fruit. It's the easier way to look at where your gaps are rather than going straight to social media. So looking at your emails, looking at your open rates, looking at people clicking on your links, etc., and then using that data to help you. So if there are people that are, again, clicking on the links and they're converting not from that link, we need to be looking at what that link is going to, whether it's a sales page or a landing page, and tweaking is necessary. If they are reading your emails but not on the links, then we could do lots and lots of different things with that. We can reach out to them individually and have a conversation with them. We could look at how we're actually wording our emails, and I'll talk about language in a bit, but we could actually look at how we're wording our emails, and those could be really quick wins in order just to tweak something to convert our audience into paying clients. So I hope that makes sense. If we go back to social media, so email is one of those low-hanging fruits. They have already said yes to being in your world. They are warm leads. There is absolutely some tweaking there that can be done. If we go back to social media and you've looked at the data and you know, say for example, if you are getting the engagement but not the comments, you're not getting people click on your bio. So that is a messaging issue there. So looking at your messaging within your content. And again, really normalizing the fact that you don't have to have loads of people liking your post to have them work for you. So looking through your content, are you really speaking to what your ideal client or what your audience is currently experiencing? That's a really key question that I find really helpful when you're looking at your content. Is this important for them to hear? Is this important for them to get to know you better? And is this important for them for what they're experiencing right now? Can you meet them where you're at or where they're at? So that's a really important part there. If you feel that you are getting people into your world, so they are saying yes, maybe to a free call or signing up to your emails, and you're not converting from there, then that goes back to what I was saying earlier. That's a nurturing issue, not necessarily messaging, although language does come into it. That is nurturing. How can you nurture those people? And like I said, it might be as simple as reaching out individually to those people that are already reading your emails, reading your posts, liking your posts, commenting on your posts, and actually starting to have a conversation with them. So it could be as simple as that. The language that you use. Now you'll hear lots of people talking about standing in your authority, being the authority, etc. What this really means is that you are owning what you do and who you are. And I had a wonderful conversation with a client last week where we talked about, when was a time that you felt really confident about your skills, about your abilities? And we talked about that. And I was like, I want you to encapsulate that before you write your content. I want you to imagine that you're embodying that version of yourself before you write content. And I got her to do a really simple tool. And if you want to know what that tool is, do ask me and I'll let you know individually. but I got her to do a really simple tool to help her to embody that before she starts writing content. And she reached out to me today and said she's already had somebody who's filled out her form. So I'm so proud of her, because I know what a journey that has been. But it's the same here. It can be as simple as reaching out to an individual, or it can be looking at your language. And your language gets better just by embodying that person who feels like they're owning their work. Like, this is important work. I am good at what I do. What would I write if I was embracing that version of myself? Because we can always start to have those self-doubts come in, and that affects the way that we write. And just to give you a more kind of concrete example in terms of language here, and I think I've said this before in previous episodes, is if you are writing things like sometimes or I could, these words that are showing your audience that, yeah, I do like what I'm doing and I do love helping people, but there are these doubts, and those doubts are coming out in the language that I'm using. So I'm talking about, could, I could, and it's really kind of watering down what you are saying. Now, I'm not saying by any means that you are embracing part of you that is not you. You don't have to pretend to be somebody that you're not. This is not what this is about. What it is about is, yes, the self-doubts might be there because we're human and we all have them, but really embodying that version of yourself who has had experiences previously where they felt absolutely 110% backing them. Yes, this is who I am. This is how I help people, and this is what they need to know, or this is how I'm going to support them in taking that next step. I've seen this work time and time again. So I know that there are lots of people out there that are telling you that there are scripts that you can use, etc. But for me, working with highly sensitives and introverts, the best way that you can do that is by embodying that version of you who's already there. It is part of who you are already. So passionate about this because I think it would be so easy to release loads of, these are scripts, but that's not you. And it feels really disingenuous, I think, as somebody who is supporting highly sensitive and introverts to say use a script, because that would be almost like the cheap way out, I think, because it's not necessarily guaranteed to work for you, and you're not learning how to be you if you're constantly relying on other people to give you the answers. You have all of the answers inside you already. You have the passion, you have the drive, otherwise you wouldn't be here listening to this. So you have what it takes. We just need to dig a little bit deeper and embrace that before we start writing content. And you will see how the language of your content shifts and changes. And you start to become the authority figure. You start, if you want to use the jargon that's in the online world, you start to become that expert. Okay? So I hope that is supportive. And that really is how to tweak your messaging. Nurturing is a huge part of tweaking your messaging, because messaging enables people to get to know you better and what you do and all of the wonderfulness that you provide. And then that makes the nurturing process easier because they already know you. So when you start to actually have that one-on-one connection with them, or that one-to-many connection maybe through a sales page, when you start to have those, they already know so much about you because your messaging has done so much of the work for you. And then that next part is just nurturing that relationship and that connection in a more deeper way. So I hope that makes sense. The next part that I think I'm actually going to do a whole episode on is selling as a highly sensitive person and introvert, because if we've got the audience, we're getting the clicks, the data is showing that people are coming through, maybe we're having free sessions, we're having those conversations with people, but we're still not making sales and we're not having clients the other side, then that is sales, that's selling. And that can feel like the most ickiest part of the whole process as a highly sensitive person, introvert. And there are really introvert, highly sensitive, friendly ways of doing this. And weirdly enough, not so much of a secret here, it comes down to embracing who you are. Part of selling is actually feeling really, really good about what you are selling, and that you are 110% behind it, and that it is going to support people. Pricing is in there as well, feeling good about your pricing, feeling good about talking about how you can support people. And part of selling as a highly sensitive person, introvert, is actually getting curious about the person in front of you. Like, really, okay, so this is going on for you. I get that. Let me meet you where you're at so I can support you in seeing the bigger picture. Because remember, people who are coming to you are looking for support. They're looking for help. And so actually meeting them where they're at and understanding why they're there, and then supporting them in actually making the best decision for them. So you're not trying to get a yes. You're not trying to get somebody to say, yes, I will work with you. You're trying to support them in saying, right, this is where you're at right now. This is where you want to be, right? Okay, so this is how I can see this happening. And supporting them in seeing that journey. And if they choose you, then fantastic. That's amazing. But if they don't, that's okay too. So it's really supporting them in seeing where they need to go next. That is part of selling, but I might do a whole episode on that because I think I can go so much deeper into that. In fact, I know I can go so much deeper into that. And it doesn't have to be icky or horrible and a horrible experience. So we've got, just to recap, because this one has been quite a big one for our first step, we have got really trying to find out where the gap is in your business and using your data here to guide you, being able to take that metaphorical step back and seeing where things aren't moving on to the next step. And I've given you some ideas at each point there in order to deepen that detail, really going into detail about that gap so that you can go deeper rather than wider. We don't need to be adding more social media or platforms or more strategies. What we're doing is looking at what we've already got and what is working and where we need to deepen maybe an aspect or tweak something that isn't necessarily working as much as we would want it to. So that's our first step. And again, I know that's a big one. That's why I said at the start, if this feels like something that you're confused by or not sure about where your gap is, please do reach out. We can have a conversation about that. The second one is kind of an offshoot, but I think really important to have as a second step, as something completely separate. And that is about connection. What do I mean by this? I mean, are you relying on just your social media content in order to get clients? Now, this may feel like I'm contradicting myself. I want to make this really clear. Social media is great. Your messaging is such an important part of this. Like I said before, it really does do some of that nurturing for you. People get to know you through your content, and it does some of the selling for you. That is the point of messaging. But it is just like a storefront. Okay, if we think about a shop and we're walking past, our social media and our messaging is very much the storefront. And as we're walking into the shop, we're walking around that shop and we're looking at the different things, getting a really good idea of the people who work there, the products that are in the shop. We're getting a really good idea of what's going on. But the selling, the sales happens when we have those conversations. Now, I personally think this is where highly sensitives and introverts really shine, because we are good at deeply connecting with people. We don't need to be connecting with hundreds and hundreds of people at the same time. And again, it very much depends on your offer and what you have. So use your own lens to look at this. But how are you actually connecting with people outside of your individual content? Look at where your ideal clients are. And can you connect with them? So this might mean, one of the ways that I do it is looking at the people that are commenting on my social media posts and starting to have conversations with them. That's one way of doing it. You can also look, so if you're more, I've been talking to quite a few people at the moment who are more kind of service-based, but in-person services. So if that was somebody I was coaching, I'd be talking about, right, okay, well, your ideal clients are going to be local. They're going to be relatively within a certain area that you are based in. So how can you connect with those people? Social media then becomes more of a social proof. It becomes more of a, as a nurturing tool. but connecting with those people. You know, you've got different Facebook groups, you've got loads of in the UK, you've got loads of Spotted. So Spotted wherever you're living, Spotted Leicestershire or Spotted Leicester, whatever it is, you've got those. Those are going to be more of the places that you might want to have conversations through. Networking, you might want to network more. And again, this does not need to be in a scary, extroverted way, but it can be, you know, reaching out and having coffee chats one-on-one with people. It could be having small, intimate networking events where you actually really get to know people. So yes, social media is really a wonderful thing to be able to have. I think it's amazing that we've got it at our fingertips, but do look at it as just part of the puzzle. It is not the only strategy. It's not a marketing strategy in itself or a sales strategy in itself. It's part of the bigger puzzle. So if it helps to think about, like I was saying there, to think about social media being that first initial looking at a shop and walking into the shop and getting a good idea of what the shop is about, but actually the sale comes from when you start talking to the person behind the counter. Okay, so think about how you are actually having those conversations, which leads me on to the third step, which has always been such an important part of my business, but I must admit was probably one of the scariest things that I did, which is how can I go first? So I'm going to put that to you. How can you go first? And this follows on from everything that we've been talking about today. Is yes, like I said, social media is amazing. Marketing is amazing. Having conversations is amazing. But how can you go first? How can you open yourself up to talking to people, to having conversations with people, to inviting people to the next step? Now, this doesn't mean doing loads of cold DMs or cold messaging people. It means doing it in a really authentic, genuine, nurturing way. And I always think about, like I said, those people have already said yes to you in some way, whether that's they've become a follower of yours, they've commented on a piece of content, they've said yes to being on your email list. Okay, people who have already got an idea of who you are. How can you talk to those people? Get curious about those people. What's going on for them? What are they experiencing at the moment? Asking them that and having those conversations, and then if it feels relevant, applicable. So for example, if you're having a conversation with somebody who says, yeah, do you know what, I'm on social media but I don't really know what I'm doing, like I'm quite new, and so I'm using myself as an example here, been around for 5+ years and you know a little bit more about marketing and you know how to get people from a cold audience to a warm audience to clients, then you might say, do you know what, if you want, I'd love to have this conversation. I've got this session. It's called this. It's free. I'd love to be able to get on a call with you and just help you through this. That is a genuine, authentic, caring, nurturing way of actually supporting that person to take the next step, but in something that feels really aligned for them. You've got curious about them. You know what's going on for them. You know how they're experiencing things, and you're going first. You're not waiting for them to say, oh, can I have a session? You're actually saying to them, I've got this, what do you think? You know, no pressure, but that is available. I can help you if you want to. So there's that to think about as well. And I do feel that this is where people get stuck, because they connect me saying, how do you go first, with ickiness, cold sales, cold DMs, etc. And that is not what this is about. This is really about getting to know the person you are connecting with, getting curious about where they're at, and then supporting them and taking those next steps if it feels aligned, if it feels appropriate, if there is something you can support them with. So I hope that makes sense. Now, I realise there's quite a lot there, so if you've got any questions, please do reach out. And if there's anything you need me to clarify, again, please just let me know. So the last thing, as I said, if you would like some support in looking at your marketing strategy, I do have my free session, which is all about simplifying your marketing. This is made solely for highly sensitives and introverts, where you can really start from where you are, wherever you are, and actually get clear on what it would look like for you. There is always, like we've said previously, there's always going to be an element of being uncomfortable because this is brand new stuff. but we should never be in a position where we feel like something's completely out of alignment. So I want to make that really clear when we're in these sessions. It's going to be something that's in alignment with you. I am going to get really curious about you and where you're at, what's going on for you, and support you in seeing a simple marketing strategy that's going to work for you. So if that's something you're interested in, I'll make sure the link is in the show notes. And as I said, if you want to find out more information about what it is like to work with me for 6 months, then I will put the consultation call below. That is for us to really just have a very quick chat, just to see how I can support you, see where you're at, what's going on for you, and then talk about what it would be or look like to work together for 6 months. I will put the link below. It would be my pleasure to really be in that with you and support you as a highly sensitive, introverted entrepreneur. Okay. If you've got any questions, let me know. I'm going to go. I think I've done really, really well today without having a coughing fit. So I'm going to leave it there while I'm good. And I will be back next week. I'm sending you so much love, guys. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode. If you have any takeaways or any questions, please do reach out to me either through Instagram, LinkedIn or Facebook at Kate Carter Coaching, or you can email me at kate@katecarter.co.uk. I always love to hear your feedback and the things that you have taken from the podcast. If you know of any other highly sensitive people, then please do share this so that I can reach more and support more highly sensitive people to embrace their strengths and gifts. As a thank you, I will pick a winner every month for a free 50-minute coaching session with me. Thank you so, so much.